Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. My name's Soleil and I garden in a zone 6A in mid-Michigan, and we are out in our front garden today. I'm going to do some final cleanup out here before the snow starts to fly. We're actually supposed to get maybe 2/10 of an inch today or something like that, so we'll see what happens over the next few days. But I want to do a little final cleanup out here. I have some hostas and a few other plants that just need to be tidied up because I like it to be nice and clean and ready for the spring. There's many things that I do like to leave over the winter because I think that it really provides for a great deal of interest. So all I'm tidying up today are things that don't do that for me. All right, let's get going. One of the things that I do like to clean up are these maidenhair ferns. These maidenhair ferns have really beautiful black stems, but they fall over under the weight of the snow, so they won't provide any winter interest at all. And while they do shield the ground a little bit, you know, there's nothing wrong with clipping them back, so we're going to just cut these off and leave this nice and open and clear. Another plant that I like to tidy this time of year is the phlox, if there's any that are left standing, because they do have an opportunity to pick up powdery mildew, and so I don't like to have that over winter. So I just clip it back right down to the base. And this also really doesn't provide much winter interest at all for me. You can see I'm just leaving all of the leaves on the ground here. People ask me a lot whether I mulch over the leaves or if I pick up the leaves before I mulch. I just leave them in place to overwinter and break down, and then I put our hardwood mulch over the top of it in the spring. So these hostas, I'm just going to do the same way I do all my hostas, which is just to kind of grab at them with my hand. I find this is the easiest and quickest method of cleanup. I know I've told you this before, but for those of you who might be new to my channel, I like to share things a little bit repeatedly. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I like to hear and see things more than once before I try them. Now you can leave these over the winter. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They'll be papery thin and dry in the spring. I just like to clean them up because I think it looks a lot nicer. Another one right back here. Now this is right next to a hydrangea macrophylla. This is actually a can-do hydrangea, but if you have blooms on those type of hydrangeas, just go ahead and leave the dried blooms on them. They help to provide a little bit of protection and some winter interest as well, which is always good. Even the giant hostas like this one that get pretty big are super easy to clean up this time of year. Now there's another maidenhair fern here, so I'm going to need to grab my secateurs to cut that back. And let me put this stuff into my garden cart as well. So this here is another maidenhair fern. You can tell this one hasn't browned over completely yet, but it will. It has started to fall over also. So because I have this nice walkway along the back here, I tend to clean up things along the back, and then I'll come through and clean up along the front afterwards. I find it's really, really helpful to also have some stepping stones. You can't really see them right now in the garden because they're covered with leaves, but that's something that really helps and is super important. I just love the sound of the rustling leaves, so I hope you guys are enjoying it as I clean up these hostas. We're going to get everything along the front of the garden bed now. Now this right here is a euphorbia, so I'm going to cut this down to the ground. I'm actually thinking next year I'll probably just dig this right up. This is another euphorbia right here, so we'll trim this one back, just like we did with the flax, right down to the ground. And as I go through here, I'm also just collecting any small sticks that might have fallen from the trees. during our pretty strong fall winds. So we have one more place where I want to clean up the hostas, and that's over by the small bird bath. So as you can see, I've covered this up with a nice cover for the winter. You might actually be able to see we're having some really tiny, teeny snowflakes right now. But what we have in this garden bed in front is a row of hostas as well as some geraniums. Now I'll be leaving the standing foliage that is dry from the Halconi cloa grass. It looks especially nice on this side of the fountain over here. So that will provide beautiful winter interest. But the geraniums, you'll see, they have lots of dry branches here. So all I do is just come through and pull at those. And it's okay if I pull some leaves off. It's not a problem. I'm not going to pull the plant out of the ground or anything like that. I'm just tugging back the brown to help clean this up. And then the hosta debris will also be cleaned from here. Now when I say clean, I like to say maybe tidy, because I do leave a lot of debris behind to break down. There's lots of little creatures that like to overwinter in this stuff. So some people choose to leave all of it because it's good for, you know, all these little critters that like to burrow in and be hidden in the leaves, or maybe even their eggs are on some of the leaves. But for me, I like to have a little bit of a tidy garden going into winter, and then I'll just toss some of these leaves that are on the ground in front of this garden bed back into the garden bed. So there'll still be plenty of cover throughout the garden beds. So I'm kind of an in-betweener. What kind of a garden cleanupper are you? Does it depend on how much time you have? Is it always the same every year? My routine definitely varies based on how much time that I have. And I try to do what I can in the fall. Again, just to make a little bit of a tidy garden. And I think you'll see what I mean by that. We'll walk by everything and take a look at how it looks now that we're getting it cleaned up. Here's another geranium. I'm just pulling all of that brown foliage out for now. So you can see it looks a lot tidier, a bit cleaner, a little bit more streamlined, and we still have some leaves in the garden bed and a little bit of debris. And over in this garden bed, there's really not much of anything that I'm going to clean up in the fall. I do have these irises here, but I usually leave them over the winter if they, you know, look fine. But you can see just how nice the hellebores are going to stand out along with the large root geranium in this garden bed. Now that we've removed that debris, they have a lot more pop against that background of just the leaves. And without those large hostas, you can see that this beautiful pyrrhus is starting to show up a little bit more as well. I'm really hoping that does well over the winter. So we'll see what it does next year, but doesn't it look a lot better? Now it just has a really nice layer of leaf mulch over the top of it to protect it, all tucked in and beautiful, ready for the winter. And when this also helps with when the hellebores begin to bloom, they will stand out a little bit more as well in this garden bed, because there isn't anything that's keeping them from peeking out or that kind of thing. So real happy with how much progress we made today. Well, thank you so much for joining me again in the garden today. I had a lot of fun, and it looks like we're just in time because it is starting to snow. So we'll go inside and get warmed up. We'll see you next time. Bye.